Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Cole Phillips, author of The Adventure of the Twisted Truths and host of the Book and Dagger. Today we are continuing our videos on Lego Ninjago. This is going to be our second video, and we're going to rank the top 8 best Lego Ninjago episodes where we left off from our last video. Um, so we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. I have my list here. Number 8 on our list is Skybound. I really enjoyed Skybound. Let me just say, originally, it was when I was watching through. Like I said, originally this was one I actually thought, like I've said before, for other ones, I actually was not too impressed with this one. And then, like upon rewatches, I realized this was actually really, really good. I don't know why I just slipped on it. But Skybound is, of course, the Jin one, which is really cool because it piggybacks off of Possession, in which, of course, the cursed realm was destroyed, and so Ninjago was destroyed. And Nautikan the Jin is he's a really good villain. He's smart. He's not he's just that level of annoying after whenever he has a victory, but you're like, it's not like other villains are, but sitting there like, I just hate this guy. I can't wait for him to get off screen. No, he was a villain that I was like, this is a good villain. He's like good as written as a villain and as a person. Um, and of course, it had me when like that scene where like the spoilers, by the way, for these videos, I will be talking about stuff that happens. I hope you guys will go before you watch these videos. You will go start watching Lego Ninjago and then come back. Or if you don't care about spoilers, maybe you've already seen the shows, or you just don't care about spoilers and you just want to watch it, please feel free to. Just know there are spoilers in these videos. But the scene where they shoot Nauticon with the venom dart, and some of it gets on Nia. There's a whole thing where it looks like she's about to die, and then I was in tears that whole scene. Yeah, Skybound was a really good season, and we're gonna go on to number 7, the Tournament of Elements. Tournament of Elements is of course an amazing. It's season number 4. It's still pretty early on. It was, I will say, when I first started watching. So when I first started watching Ninjago, I thought there were just a few. Like I thought, like the only elements were earth, fire, ice, and lightning, and then whatever the of course the golden and then green power of this ultimate Spinjitzu master. When I was watching, I was like, oh, there are actually other people out here with elemental powers. That like they may not be ninja, but there's a bunch of other like elemental masters out here. And so I really, really enjoyed this one because you got to, in a Tournament of Elements, you got to see a bunch of other elemental masters, and you also got to see a lot of the lore and backstory of Garmadon and Wu when they were like young, and just the Serpentine Wars, which are a recurring thing throughout Ninjago. You get to learn a lot of the lore of that. That was really cool. The battle between the Anachondri and the Elemental Masters was really sick. It was just overall, it was a very, very good season. We're going to move on to number 6 on our list is Hunted. Hunted is, of course, it takes place after the Sons of Garmadon and before March of the Oni. Hunted, I would say, so this is actually, I was actually surprised upon when I was making these ranking my favorite seasons. I was actually surprised this one made it so high on the list because overall, the story of Hunted was one I was a little on the board side of through some of it. Most of it was good. And there were some episodes where I was just sitting there like, yeah, let's just get on to the good parts. But actually, this one, so Hunted, I've gone back and re-seen some of it, and I wasn't a big fan of. So I wasn't. So I loved the idea of the first realm, or the realm of the Oni and the dragon. I loved that whole section. I wasn't a big fan of the whole Dragon Hunters arc, which is most of the season. However, the rest of the season actually made up for it, in my opinion. You had Emperor Garmadon and the Sons of Garmadon ruling over Ninjago while the ninja are gone. You have Lloyd leading the resistance against them. You have, for me, the crowning jewel of all Hunted were 2 parts. There was the Wu and Lloyd versus Garmadon again, and then Mistake, the old tea lady, which I loved her character, especially since considering she's someone who showed up since I think basically the first season. Like they show a lady Like she's been giving people traveler's tea since season 1, but just like making a little appearance in every season. And then suddenly in season 8, they actually are like, oh, by the way, she's actually the shape shifting Oni, and the way just she is like given actually like this little old lady in the tea shop is actually given a bigger role. And the when her fight scene with Garmadon at the top of the tower is just absolutely epic. I was freaking out when that whole battle played. The giant Titan that Garmadon controls to help enforce the city. I just love that whole part of Hunted, which is why it's pretty high on the list. Continuing on the list, though, we're going to go to number 5. We're getting into the top 5 now. Rebooted. Rebooted is another one of those seasons where I started watching it and I was like, I'm not sure I like the aesthetic of it. And then as it went on, and then I was go back and rewatch, I realized, okay, this is peak Ninjago. The whole the Overlord again as the main villain, the Nindroids, the Pythor coming back, the just everything that takes place. The temple with the sacred seal of protection. It's really cool because like without getting too much spoilers of the whole, the Golden Ninja versus the first Benjitsu Master versus the Overlord, and the ninja having to use when the Overlord steals the golden power. There is, and the ninja have to use a lot of the things that the Overlord used against the first Benjitsu Master. Is just really cool because it's just a flip of situations. The good guys having to use weapons and armor that the bad guy used to fight against the first good guy. I really loved it. The temple with the sacred seal of protection versus the Overlord and his golden armor is a really cool fight scene. And then, of course, Zane's iconic sacrifice scene is. I was in tears the whole time. That scene was so well done. I could not believe it. I didn't think they were gonna like do it. I didn't think they were gonna have Zane sacrifice himself, but I was so emotional. I think it was not the first time I cried in the show, but I think it was I think it was definitely the scene I cried the hardest at in the show, and just was just overcome. I was just like, no, they can't do this. But that Rebooted was top tier. That's why it's at number 5. Number 4, March of the Oni, one of my personal favorites. March of the Oni does not have. It's only 4. It's only 4 episodes, so it's one of the shortest Ninjago seasons, and it doesn't have the heart pulling strings like Rebooted. However, it is peak writing. So like in Hunted, like I explained earlier, I was saying earlier, it's a little lower on the list, but still pretty high. Hunted, of course, they defeated Garmadon. And I just really like the idea of how you defeat one villain only to realize that this villain was keeping the world safe from an even greater villain. So when the Oni come marching in to destroy Ninjago, and the ninja have to team up with Garmadon again to stop this menace, I just really love that idea for some reason. I really love it when you take down a villain and then the villain's like, no, you can't take me down. I'm the only one who is keeping these other bigger villains from coming into your world. And the bigger villains just come in and you're like, okay, yeah, these are bad guys. The Oni are insane. The designs of the Oni minifigures is sick. Their powers, the massive fog, and the final stand at the monastery when the just like Oni after a army of Oni comes marching up the mountain, and the ninja and Garmadon and the Wu, and there's all like gathered at the top ready to fight in the tornado of creation. That whole last episode was just peak Ninjago for me. It also is like a very good like I thought it was the end of Ninjago. It was season 10. It was the end of Masters. I believe just like of Masters of Spinjitzu, and then there's like that weird thing where they split it off and it's Lego Ninjago. It's still like the same TV show, but it's like 2 different TV shows. But I was sitting there watching, and I was like, if the other 6 seasons of just Lego Ninjago are not good, this is a good ending. Like for me, I could do this. But it was March of the Oni is peak fiction writing. Number 3 on our list, getting into the top 3 now, is Legacy of the Green Ninja. Legacy of the Green Ninja is, of course, season 2. It is when Lloyd unlocks the golden power for the first time, and the first time we meet the Overlord, who is, in my opinion, the best villain Ninjago writers ever created. I just love the whole battle with Lloyd and his golden power versus the Overlord and his like dragon form, the Stone Army and the Helmet of Shadows, the Island of Darkness, the Temple of Light, the just everything about it is good. Dareth putting on the Helmet of Shadows to control the Stone Army, and they turn this goofy character who does nothing into basically not the savior, but one of the saviors. I just love that whole season is just peak writing, peak fiction. The Overlord possessing Garmadon and making like the crocodile like form the weapon that turns people to evil. All that is just it's all I love it all. It's so insanely good. Um, that's why it's number 3 on our list. And number 2 on our list is Crystallized Part 2. So Crystallized Part 2 is, I mean, it's number 2 on my list. What can I say? I loved it. I understand a lot of people hated it, and I get where you're coming from. The dragon form did feel a little like, I mean, obviously it was like all it took was a bunch of people coming together to fight evil to allow the ninja to unlock their dragon form. But I liked that. Like, I get it. It's lazy writing. I get that. I still enjoyed it because I mean, at the end of the day, Lego Ninjago is a kids show. It was written for kids. Kids, and not to say kids aren't smart, but a lot of the times plot twists or super like build ups, a tiny detail here that builds up is might go unnoticed. Or a kid might, like, as a kid, I would watch, like, I'm glad I waited till like I got older to watch Lego Ninjago or Lord of the Rings or like stuff that like hits deep, because as a kid, like as a kid, I personally I did not like I would not have I would not it would not have hit as hard for me. Like, that's just me, but as an adult, I feel like it hits harder, especially when it's a kids show and it's like you're like, wow, this is a kids show. This is a show anybody can enjoy. So I get it. It did seem like I kind of laughed when they like transformed the dragon form, but I loved it. I thought it was good, and I just don't get the people out there who are like, oh, that was just such lazy writing. It's terrible. It's like, oh, this ruins the whole show. I'm like, no, it doesn't ruin the whole show. It was amazing. It was sick. It was like you have to like. I just want to say I loved it. Garmadon and Lloyd versus the Crystal King is insane. I love that whole sequence. Wu versus the Overlord is a crazy fight. That would be animation. Like, so the animation only gets better, and like season 16, the animation is wild. The fight scenes are crazy good. That's why Crystallize is number 2. Number 1 on our list. This one is the Master of the Mountain / Prime Empire season. Now, I just want to say I was not as big a fan of Prime Empire. I thought the villain was a little weird. I'm not really a fan of people going into digital universes. I get that happened in Rebooted, but that was a little tiny section, so I overlooked that and put that on top 5. But, and like I said, this one made top 1, even though I'm not a big fan of the whole people going into digital universes. But I forgive Prime Empire because it introduced Okino, who is one of my favorite characters. He is just an all around good guy who is trying to do his best and help people and protect people. And he's really cool with his sword. But mostly this got number 1 status because of Master of the Mountain. Master of the Mountain is my all time favorite Ninjago season, mostly because it focuses on Cole, who is my favorite character. Also because it has a D&D feel to it. Like, it feels like they mix Ninjago with D&D, especially with the Party of Adventurers, Plunder the Thief, Fungus the Sorcerer, and Corgran the Barbarian, whom I absolutely love. And you got backstory on Cole and just the plot twists that came. Like, I was not expecting the Crystal, not the Crystal. I was not expecting the Skull Sorcerer to be who he was. I was not expecting Cole's mother to be who she was, and then I was not expecting the savior of the Geckos and the Months to be who that person was. There's a lot I wasn't expecting and didn't see. And the final fight between Cole and the Skull Sorcerer is my favorite Ninjago fight. The flashback, the Spinjitzu burst, it just really pulled at my heart. I shed a tear. I shed multiple tears watching this. It's like a scene that I will die on a hill. Like, this is one of the best fight scenes I've ever watched. It's pulls your heartstrings. It's really cool. Master of the Mountain, I will die on that hill is the best Ninjago season ever. With that being said, that is all the Lego Ninjago seasons ranked except for Dragons Rising because I want to wait till the rest of Dragons Rising comes out. I want to watch that and then do some videos on that one. And because, like I said, I really enjoyed season 2 of Dragons Rising. Season 1 was okay for me. I'm just really curious to see how they do season 3 and if it goes on any further. I'm just really curious to see where they keep going because, like, Ninjaga's been going on for a long time. It's 18 seasons if you count Dragons Rising now, and I'm just really curious to see if they'll ever end it or if they'll like just keep running it until eventually people are like, okay, I'm tired of it. Which I have not grown tired of Ninjago after 18 seasons, but I get where some people just be like, it's 18 seasons. I don't want to watch a show that's 18 seasons long. I totally get that. But yeah, comment and let me know what you think of my rankings of the Lego Ninjago episodes. You can agree or disagree. I get it. Everybody has their own personal opinions on this. And be on the lookout for more content coming soon.